We are live. Hello, critical thinkers. Hope all is well with everyone tonight. First and foremost, thank you for being here. Let's do some basic housekeeping. If everyone can please do me a favor and like the video, like the stream when you have the opportunity. Please share the video, share the stream to other people who you feel may need to see this. And if you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps immensely with the algorithm for tonight. So when you have the opportunity, please subscribe. That definitely helps because the content that I'm putting out there, it's not very popular with YouTube. Talking about the abuses that occur in the New York State Department of Corrections is not a very popular topic. The murder of Robert Brooks and other incarcerated individuals doesn't necessarily get the press, doesn't necessarily get the attention that it needs. So this is really a grassroots type of thing. I'm going to need your help to really get the message out there. So I want to thank everyone for being on the chat so far. I see we have about 18 people. So one of the stories that we are going to be covering tonight involves a New York State correction officer being sentenced after being convicted, obviously. And some of his charges include domestic violence. So first and foremost, I'm going to put up a little, comment there. If you are experiencing domestic violence, help is available. I included the domestic violence hotline so that if you are experiencing this in your life, help is available. Feel free to call the hotline to get assistance to help you through your situation. Now, for those of you who don't know, those involved in law enforcement, whether it be regular police officers or correction officers, there are higher rates of suicide. There are also higher rates of domestic violence that is involved. So I'm going to be going over two stories tonight. Some of you may have seen this in the description. The first story involves a correction officer being convicted. And then there is another story that actually came out back in January. I felt, basically, I feel as though now is the right time to cover the second story. And that second story comes from the freelance, JB Nicholas. So I'm going to pull up here the Oh, and by the way, if people can please do me a favor, type in your location in the chat. I love to see where people are watching from. I love to see, whether you're in New York, whether you're in upstate New York, whether you're in a different country. This really helps a great deal. Cheryl put down no like button. Hopefully the like button has popped up. Cheryl says, got it. Thank you so much. Yeah, and if people can please like the stream very quickly, that'd be greatly appreciated. We have Sunset from New York. We got Woody's watching, saying, yeah, these dudes are sexual sadists. We got Cheryl watching from Syracuse, New York. Cheryl says, I follow every show that you do. Cheryl, thank you immensely. It means a lot to hear those words. Basically, for those of you who don't know, this channel started in August of 2024. And the purpose of the channel was to go over human resources topics and information because my background is human resources. And ever since basically, ever since I saw the Robert Brooks video, this channel has really transformed. I made one video on Robert Brooks, and then it kind of snowballed from there. And I've dedicated this channel to covering the abuses that occur in the New York State Department of Corrections, covering the abuses, the atrocities, the beatings, and the murder that go unprosecuted. And from my research, I've learned a lot. And I've learned that this has been happening for decades. This has been happening for a very long time. And my mission is to expose the injustice that is out there. So my goal is to expose the injustice. So, oh, we have a couple of super chats that have come in. Thank you, Ann Tower. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. Really, really appreciate that. Keisha Wong as well. Thank you, Keisha, for the for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it, Keisha. And Ann, thank you so much. It really means a lot for your contribution. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you, and thank you immensely, because this channel would not be here unless there's a need for it, and unless people like you support the channel. So thank you so much. So I want to jump ahead. Oh, we have a couple of more locations I just want to shout out. We got Michelle from Tampa, Florida. Michelle from Tampa, thank you for being here. Miss Keisha Wong from Rochester, New York. We got Richard Seller, Richard from Northern New York. Richard, thank you so much for all of the articles that you send me. For those of you who don't know, I go through my emails, I try my best, and if you guys send me articles that are newsworthy, I will cover it. I've basically made many of my live streams have come from you guys feeding me information. So it's really greatly appreciated. Keisha Wong says, "You are the best." I do appreciate that immensely. Thank you, Keisha. And saying, "Sunset, my pleasure." I was responding to another individual. We had Red Pill Truth from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Red Pill from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate it. So I want to go ahead and jump into the article here, and I will go ahead and pull that up for everyone to see. Okay. All right, so here we go. So this article is from CBS6 Albany, and basically is as follows: Correction officer convicted of domestic violence in Moreau. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I realize that. This article is from Felix Day. So let's move on. This is the individual in question. So there's two articles I'm going to be showing actually. This one is an article about the conviction, and then there's a second article that goes over the sentencing. Okay. A Saratoga County jury has convicted Stephen Frank, a correction officer at Warren County Jail, of multiple felony and misdemeanor charges related to a series of domestic violence incidents against his ex-wife in their Moreau home. Frank, born October 29th, 1976, was found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated criminal contempt in the first degree, 4 counts of criminal contempt in the uh, 4 counts of criminal contempt in the first degree, and several counts of assault in the third degree. The charges stemmed from years of both verbal and physical abuse, often witnessed by the couple's 2 children. During the week-long trial, the victim testified about the abuse and supported by photographs showing injuries to her face, arms, chest, neck, and legs. Her 11-year-old son also testified, describing the persistent pattern of abuse. 3 medical professionals corroborated the extent of the victim's injuries, and a domestic violence expert highlighted the challenges victims face within the criminal justice system. Just a quick pause, really quick, about the children. So, I know many people who have experienced domestic violence who were children, who had to see that occur in their families, and the effects of that is devastating for children. For a young man to see that, sometimes there's extremes of, the young man can grow up to be an abuser himself, or he'll grow up and want to protect women and feel the need to protect them from perpetrators. So just FYI. Frank testified in his defense, claiming he was the true victim in the relationship, citing perceived disrespect at home. So if if you guys can tell me in the comments section what you think about his testimony, him saying that he was the true victim in the relationship, saying he was citing disrespect at home. So just tell me your comments and tell me what you think. Oh, and by the way, if there's anyone out there who has experience working with victims, with survivors of domestic violence, and you would like to come on and have a conversation with me, I'd love to have you on. I will drop the link in a couple minutes. Okay. Continuing on with the article, however, the jury dismissed the claims after reviewing the evidence and testimony, reaching a verdict in less than 2 hours. So wow. So basically they found him guilty of the charges in less than 2 hours. And for all we know, that might have been a formality. They might have wanted to convict him a lot sooner. The Warren County Sheriff's Office has terminated Frank following his recent convictions. Officials said they've learned of Frank's convictions the morning of January 29th, leading to his immediate separation from employment. Authorities also stated prior to his dismissal, Frank had maintained a restricted employment status with the sheriff's office until the time of his conviction. Frank faces a potential sentence of 8 1/3 to 25 years in state prison, with the possibility of consecutive sentences. Frank's sentencing is scheduled for May 2nd, 2025, which was a couple of days ago. District Attorney Karen Hagan said in a statement how domestic violence nearly always occurs out of public view. She follows the statement, um, commending both the victim and her young son for summoning the courage to ensure Frank was held accountable for his years of domestic abuse. Wow, that's very tough to see, and I wonder how many other wives of correction officers are experiencing this level of abuse. Now, just a quick thing. Now, the reason why I actually brought up this article today is because, based on my research, I found that in civil suits, I'm hearing more and more about women, right? Whether it be incarcerated women or whether it be female correction officers or female staff members that work in these prisons, citing abuse from male COs, sexual harassment. So this is why I wanted to talk about this tonight and wanted to go over these articles and this correction officer being sentenced to up to 25 years. This is fairly recent, so that's why I wanted to cover this and then go into a different case. So I'm going to bring up another article right now. Let me pull this up. So okay, here we go. So this is involving the same correction officer. This came out after he was sentenced. So let's see if there are any new details that come up. So it says a former Warren County correction officer was sentenced to up to 25 years in prison after being convicted of multiple instances of beating his former wife. Stephen A. Frank, 48, of Lake George, was found guilty after a week-long jury trial of 3 counts of aggravated criminal contempt, 4 counts of criminal contempt, and 2 counts of assault. So we learned that his jury trial lasted 1 week, and the jury took 2 hours to deliberate and come up with guilty verdicts. Witnesses testified that Frank had injured the victim on multiple occasions. He also violated orders of protection multiple times, according to Saratoga County District Attorney's Office. The victim had injuries to her face, arms, chest, and legs, according to prosecutors. The violence often occurred in front of their 2 children, prosecutors said. The victim testified at their trial that Frank had not only hurt her body, but also hurt but also her emotional and mental well-being. Prosecutors said it also affected 2 children. And sorry for this ad here that's showing. Saratoga County District Attorney Karen Hagan issued a statement uh, commending the victim with her strength and courage throughout this process. The sentence imposed in this case ensures that the victim and her children can finally feel safe again and serves as a reminder to the community that domestic abusers can and will be held accountable for their actions. Okay, so that is the end of that article there. So, uh, guys, let me know what you think in terms of uh, his defense in court, his defense in trial, that he felt disrespected at home, that he was the quote unquote victim himself. Um, we have a couple of comments about this correction officer. Sunset says, "What will he do in prison? Act the same because he felt disrespected?" And actually, Sunset, you actually bring up a very good point. So, if this individual is capable of harming his own wife, traumatizing his own children, what do you think he's capable of in these jails where he's currently working in? What do you think about that? Right? Um, who knows if there are individuals located in that jail that he served that he actually took out his aggression on? Okay, okay. So, all right, I'm gonna jump to the other article here. This is an older. Let me pull this up. This one is an older article. Okay, and this one is from a great resource for those of you who aren't familiar with the freelance. You need to go and check the freelance out. The website is thefreelancenews.org. They have a treasure trove of articles, and JB Nicholas um, has done a lot of work covering Robert Brooks and deaths of incarcerated individuals. Okay, Wayno says, I'm confused. What does up to 25 years mean? Is there no minimum? So that's very interesting that you do bring that up. So this article did not bring up what the minimum was. And in fact, I'm going to jump to the first article quickly because he has a range, right? So, okay, so based on the first article, it says that um, he faced 8 1/3. So he was sentenced to 8 years and 1/3 to 25 years in prison. So I'm assuming what that means is that he won't be eligible to be released potentially until serving the minimum sentence. So hopefully that answers that question, Wayno. Right. So we'll go ahead and jump to the article here that I mentioned. That's from the freelance. So officer sexually harassed to death by guards at Marcy Correctional Facility sparks husband's quest for justice. My son asks me all the time, what happened to mommy? Why did mommy die? What are you supposed to say to him? So, oh man, this article, man, really, 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 really touched me. And I don't know why, to be honest with you, I did not, cover this story earlier. And I think the reason why I'm covering this story now is because based on the civil lawsuits that I've been reading, also I did a live stream in regards to nursing and nurses, and there were a couple of nurses who came up in lawsuits who claimed that who they claimed that they were sexually harassed. So I felt like maybe this was a good time to bring up this story and bring up this article. Jesse Ossont-Hoffert, and my apologies if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly. 37 was sexually harassed by correction officers while working as a correction officer at the Marcy Correctional Facility in upstate New York, where prisoner Robert Brooks was beaten and choked to death by guards on December 9th, 2024. Weeks after being raped by a lieutenant inside the prison in 2021, Ossont-Hoffert committed suicide. Shown here with her now 16-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son. Photo credit unknown. So this is really wow. Whew. Okay. So again, I mentioned this article did come out back in January of 2025. Woodgate, New York. Lance Hoffert wants justice for his dead wife and their two children, starting with discovering the name of the lieutenant at New York's Marcy Correctional Facility who raped her inside the prison. Jesse Ossont-Hoffert wasn't beaten and choked to death by guards at Marcy like Robert Brooks was, but she just as well might have been. While working there as a correction officer in 2021, she was sexually harassed every single day. Now, just to stop it very quickly, this is a theme that I've seen in my research. I've read in civil lawsuits, many of the nursing staff, many of the female staff members are harassed by the CEOs on a daily basis, and nothing is done about it. I can tell you as a I can tell you as an HR professional that sexual harassment has to be taken seriously. But we know just based on the collective bargaining agreement with NYSCOBA that you can have officers who beat the crap out of incarcerated individuals and kill them and still keep their jobs. So sexual harassment is going to be low on that scale in terms of offenses just based on the current collective bargaining agreement. Let's continue on with the article. The then 37-year-old mother of two killed herself about 2 months after being raped by the lieutenant, 2 weeks before Christmas and her 38th birthday. Before she did, she explained why. She said she had enough of it. She couldn't take it anymore. Lance Hoffert, now 42, told the Freelance, quote, "My son asks me all the time, what happened to mommy? Why did mommy die? What are you supposed to say to him?" End quote. Hasnat Hoffert revealed to her husband it was a lieutenant at Marcy who supervised her, directed a campaign of sexual harassment against her, and committed the worst of the abuse. But she wouldn't tell me who it was. I begged her, Hoffert says. The lieutenant, that's what's coming out of her mouth. Brooks' killing by guards at Marcy on December 9th, 2024, made Hoffert feel the pain of his wife's slow motion killing all over again. This time, he said, he wants the lieutenant and the correction officers who sexually harassed her, literally to death, held accountable. Quote, "I would like some justice seen," Hoffert says. That's for sure. And then she's pictured here in the class that she graduated from. What made the horrible ordeal even worse was that no one from his wife's union, the New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Union, NYSCOBA, even visited Hoffert, much less helped the grieving family out with funeral arrangements and bills. Quote, "They hung us out to dry," Hoffert says. The state agency that runs New York prisons, the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, or DOCS, also failed to help. Quote, "Never heard from anybody," Hoffert says. "Never a letter, nothing to say sorry or anything." Now, the single father is about to be evicted from the house Hoffert and Jesse bought in 2009. Hoffert couldn't find enough work to pay the mortgage and raise two children by himself. The bank foreclosed on him in 2024, according to court records. "One person trying to raise my kids and everything, I can't do it," he explained, breaking down in tears. "It's too hard." And my heart and my thoughts and prayers goes out to this man who lost his wife. I can't even imagine. Oh, okay. Jesse grew up in Big Moose in the middle of New York's Adirondack Mountain Forest Preserve. Lance grew up in Lion Falls, 45 miles away. They met in 2000 as teenagers working together at the Park Hotel and Northern Lights ice cream stand in the picturesque town of Inlet. We were kind of running it, Hoffert says, of the hotel and working at the ice cream stand. We didn't start dating till 2 years after that. They married in 2007 and bought the house in Woodgate, about 35 miles north of Utica, in 2008. Their daughter, Adrian, was born a year later in 2009. They had a son, Triton, in 2016. Jesse worked as a cosmetologist. Lance, like many Adirondack men, worked seasonal jobs. He drove trucks when it was warm out and spent winters fixing up cars. After Triton was born, Jessie put herself through night school and became a licensed nurse. First, she worked at a rehabilitation and nursing home in Rome, then for New York's Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, or DDSO. Jessie made 38,000 a year working as a nurse for DDSO. She saw becoming a correctional officer as a step up. Quote, she became a CEO because she wanted to better herself, better her future, Lance says, and then everything went downhill. She wouldn't have took that job. She would have never. I know she would have never did it, Hoffert, referring to her suicide. Jessie graduated from Doc's 8-week basic academy in 2019. Public payroll records confirm. Her starting salary as a correction officer was 43,937. Her first job was at Comstock, a maximum security men's prison officially known as the Great Meadow Correctional Facility. Quote, she was only at Marcy for a few months, Hoffert says. Jesse never complained about being sexually harassed by anyone before Marcy. Only Marcy, Hoffert says, that was the biggest thing, the biggest of where she had issues. So Marcy Correctional Facility, and I'm gonna make myself big just for a quick second. So Marcy Correctional Facility seems to be one of the worst facilities. You know, we had a couple weeks ago Sean Chung, who was a former incarcerated individual who worked at the infirmary, who saw many of the atrocities, people being beaten and just mistreated, and the nurses covering that up. So Marcy is just a special hub of evil. So this doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me. Let's continue on. Male correctional officers sexually harass Jesse every day. Every day someone was saying something to her, Hoffert said. Jesse told him, bravely trying to explain difficult things to a stranger. She said she got a lot of, people said things to her for being a female, and, sexual things, end quote. I'm going to make you suck my dick and things like that. Was what male CEOs at Marcy threatened, Hoffert said Jesse told him. It was also her fellow CEOs who sexually harassed her, never the prisoners. A prisoner there at the time told the freelance they called her Miss H. So I found this line very interesting. By the way, for everyone just joining us, I see we have 57 people in the chat. If you guys can please do me a favor and get my likes up. If you can please like the stream, like the video. Let's try to get it to at least 45 likes. That would be greatly appreciated. So going back to the article very quickly. So it's funny that this line says here it was always her fellow CEOs who sexually harassed her, never the prisoners, because I've had multiple formerly incarcerated individuals state that the female correctional officers get treated with a higher level of respect, and there's more caution when dealing with female correctional officers because of the fear of being attacked by COs because a female CO claims that someone incarcerated looked at them the wrong way, or they exposed themselves. So, basically, there's a higher level of scrutiny for the men inside, and they treated the female COs with a higher level of respect and caution. So, I'll move on with the article. Um, Quote, it wasn't from the inmates either, Hoffert added. She never complained about the inmates ever. It was all the other COs. So very interesting that her husband says she never complained about the incarcerated individuals, about the men. It was always the other COs. COs even sent lewd text messages to her mobile phone. One explicitly threatened to rape her inside the prison. Next time I see you, I'm going to bend you over the table or something. Hoffert recalled. The violent text message said. Hopefully, these text messages were kept. Um, let's see if there's a civil lawsuit coming out of this. When Jesse showed it to Lance, he telephoned the sender and told the guy, I said, listen, I'm her husband. What the CO revealed was, and remains shocking, he claimed he'd been told to harass her. A lieutenant raped Jesse and directed other COs to sexually harass her, Hoffert said. Jesse revealed to him before she died. I'm positive, he says, 100% positive. Prison guards are organized in a quasi-military hierarchy with a rigid chain of command. COs are at the button. Sergeants are above COs, lieutenants are above sergeants, captains are above lieutenants, deputy superintendents are above captains, etc. At night, lieutenants hold enormous power inside prisons because they're frequently the highest ranking officer left there. Hoffer doesn't know the name of the lieutenant who assaulted his wife, but he knows he worked at night. Quote, he was the majority of the persons she complained about was the lieutenant, Hoffert recalled. It almost seemed like he was like the head of it all. The lieutenant raped Jesse about 2 months before she killed herself, sometime in September or October of 2021. It made me furious, Hoffert confessed. You really want to hurt someone. You do. I could imagine this. Well, you know what? I can't imagine this. This is something that is absolutely horrific for your wife to be in this environment and to be assaulted and raped and then to be harassed in that fashion. That's disgusting. People in Hoffert's neck of the woods grow up shooting guns. The three male buck deer heads mounted on a wall in his living room, each bristling with about a dozen spike-like antlers, testified to his skill with firearms. His daughter's BB rifle with a pink stock and hand grip rested on the counter between us as we talked. Still, crime and violence are generally speaking low. No one even locks their front doors. Jessie wouldn't tell her husband who did raped her. She was also too afraid of retaliation to file a complaint. Wow. She was terrified. The lieutenant will find out, Hoffert said. He suggested asking her union rep for help. Well, she can't go to them because he'll find out, Hoffert explained, referring to the lieutenant. Jesse also feared something worse from a different person, Hoffert said, because it's all a bunch of guys and they have their own cliques. It was also possible the lieutenant or other COs would have the inmates beat her up because she told. Jesse feared they'd label her a rat or start a false rumor that she spread her legs to everybody. Jesse went back to work and Hoffert said, try to steal it out. Wow. Before working at Marcy, Hoffert said his wife was the strongest person you ever met. She was always calm, cool, and collected. She was the person who always knew everything, right to do in tough situations. She rarely drank alcohol. After the abuse, she started drinking really heavy every night, and she'd start hitting me in front of the kids and start getting abusive. They tried talking it out, but Jesse drunken rages got worse, a typical sign of post-traumatic stress disorder. The kids saw it too, he said. It wasn't Jesse anymore. They mutually agreed it was best if Jessie temporarily moved back in with her mother in the town of Webb. It's kind of unbelievable seeing somebody who's so strong flip right around. It's just unbelievable to me. Just a light switch flipped, and that was it. Very quickly, I want to go ahead and put a link for anyone who wants to come on and connect with me. I'm including a link in the chat right now. The only thing that I will say, if you want to come on, please show your camera, be able to show your face. No loud music in the background, so that I don't get any kind of copyright strikes from YouTube. If you have experience with domestic violence, you want to come on and talk to me about that, I would greatly appreciate that. So the link is in the description, and let's continue on with the article. On December 9th, Jessie started sending suicidal text messages to Lance that she said she's going to do it. Never ever of our whole relationship or any time I know her ever said anything about killing herself, Hoffert explained. That's how I knew she was serious. I tried stopping it. He called the town of Webb police and told them where his wife was and that she was threatening to kill herself. They didn't care, Hoffert said. They went up there, said, "Oh, she's fine. Don't bother us again with this." Wow. Hours later, Jessie was dead. Quote, "Don't bother us again with this," they said to me the night she killed herself. Hoffert repeated, still stunned years later. A week or so after his wife killed herself, Hoffert visited the town of Webb police headquarters and shared his pain with police officers there. Quote, kind of hollered at him a little bit, he said. I just want to tell them, now my kids don't have a mother because you guys can't do your job. When reached for comment, a town of Webb spokesperson said the police chief and sergeant who worked for the town in December 2021 no longer worked for the department. Instead of being protected by law enforcement, Jessie was victimized, failed at every turn, and abandoned by them, even though she was one of them. Yeah, they're brothers in blue, Hoffert reflected, twisting a blade sharp with sarcasm. That's bullshit. Should be a different name for them. End quote. Hoffert held off eviction for years, finally losing the house in November, according to court records. People don't understand what it's like, Hoffert said, hot tears burning down his face, to have to tell their kids or explain why their mother isn't here, or why I can't pay for the house, or why I can't do this, or why the mother will never, ever be there ever again. Hoffert placed the blame for his wife's death on Docs and the state of New York. It's because that place, he said. How come there's not somebody there saying, listen, no, you're fired? The widow called on Governor Kathy Hochul to close Marcy and Jesse's name and the name of all the female correction officers who have worked there or might have to work there in the future. 100% they should close that place, Hoffert said. Oh, and by the way, if you guys believe Marcy should be shut down, Marcy should be closed, please write close in the chat. If you believe Marcy should stay open, feel free to write open in the chat. I would love to see what people believe. How many? All of them. Hoffert acts rhetorically, pain welling in his heart and anger in his voice. All the female COs, I'm sure of it. The Oneida County District Attorney, the state police, and docs all denied ever receiving any complaints from Jesse. Interesting. So everyone is saying that they've received no complaints about this. Thomas Maley, a spokesperson for docs, said, "We have no record in our Office of Special Investigations of a complaint by Ms. Ossont-Hoffert." He referred questions about death benefits for correction officers to the state comptroller's office. A spokesperson for the comptroller's office provided a link to a state website indicating potential beneficiaries have to apply. The office refused to disclose whether benefits were paid to any of Ossont-Hoffert's survivors because, quote, information identifying beneficiaries and amounts payable to them are considered to be private and will constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy, the spokesperson said. NYSCOBA's spokesman did not respond to a voicemail seeking comment. And to end the article, it says this: the freelance investigation into Jesse Ossont-Hoffert's death remains ongoing. We will update readers with additional results in future reports. If you are a CEO who worked at Marcy or were a prisoner there and knew Miss H, the freelance wants to hear from you today. Send tips or corrections to Jason B. Nicholas at gmail.com, or if you prefer, the freelance news at proton.me. Wow, that is that's devastating. I can't even imagine that situation of losing your wife to suicide because of the repeated harassment occurring. And to think that no one has any record of this occurring it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We have a super chat. Thank you so much to Cheryl. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you again. I really do. I really do. So we have Sunset that says close down Marcy. John says shut it down. Ann says close. John says close. We have a red pill truth that says cover up, potential cover up. I would not be surprised. Betsy Ross says closed. Send the fat rednecks to Sing Sing. Interesting. Um, wow. Okay. And John is saying he's from Buffalo, New York. So again, I'm going to put the chat. I'm sorry. I'm going to put the link to come on and connect with me for anyone who wants to come on and chat with me live. For anyone who has any experience with domestic violence, you want to come on and speak about that, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so I will give it a couple of minutes to see if anyone wants to come on. By the way, if you do want to come on, you have to have your camera on. You have to be able to show your face, no loud music in the back, and just have to be respectful. So if people have a difference of opinion, I welcome people who have a difference of opinion. Oftentimes, in some cases, people want to have a back and forth in the comment section of my videos. I really don't want to go back and forth about something substantial, via commenting, because the conversation is really not going to go anywhere. So if you're someone who disagrees, you are more than welcome to put a comment with that disagreement. But if you're interested in having a deep conversation, this is the opportunity to come on live and chat with me. So by all means. We have Josie Manning Taylor saying, I'm in dog rescue, LOL. Nothing about this, but enjoy your chat. Thank you so much. Josie, I really enjoy having you here and everyone who's on. So right now we have about 51 people in the chat right now, and if everyone could please do me a favor, please like the video, like the stream. Feel free to share it with your associates. Again, this is a topic that YouTube is really not promoting out there. So all of these views is coming from grassroots mechanisms. It's coming from you guys sharing the videos. It's coming from you guys, having discussions about this. And it's getting to a point where YouTube has to really promote this more and get the word out, because this is not a topic that is very popular. I'm not doing a pop the balloon. I'm not covering the bigger topics out there. I'm not covering Karen Reed. So this is something that's very important for me, that I'm very passionate about. And if you guys can definitely help me and get the word out there, I just, want to say that and thank you for everyone who's there so far. This channel has surpassed over 1,000. I believe now we're at, 1,230 subs. So I thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. And I want to give a special thanks to everyone who has super chatted. Oh, we have Cheryl again with another $2 super chat. Thank you so much again, Cheryl. I really, really, really appreciate that. Really appreciate that immensely. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And Cheryl says the inmates are the victims. Yeah, I mean, we know about Robert Brooks. We know about Messiah Nantry, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who have been beaten behind bars. There's also, I want to say, dozens of men who have lost their life under very suspicious circumstances. Very suspicious circumstances. And families have a hard time getting answers. So yes, Cheryl, yeah, the inmates are the victims, and my goal is to help assist getting justice for those, people who are incarcerated, because enough is enough. Enough is enough. So Cheryl, thank you again. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So okay, so we've been on for close to an hour. I don't have anyone who wants to come on. Oh, we have Chris Milky saying, like, share, and subscribe. Let's be human about our humans. Absolutely, yeah. Definitely, Chris. Thank you for putting that out there. We have Angel Walters saying, we'll pass it on. Thank you, Angel. Thank you for definitely, feel free to share this. Cheryl says, I have loved ones who are going through the mental abuse. So the other night I had Ruby Rivera on, who's the aunt of Christopher Quiles. And Christopher Quiles was beaten the day before Messiah Nantry was killed. We spent some time talking about not just about the physical beating, but the psychological torture that's occurring. And that's why I've renamed DOCS the New York State Department of Corruption and Criminal Sadist. We have correction officers that not only are physically torturing our loved one behind bars, they're psychologically being tortured as well. So, and there's very little repercussions that these correction officers are facing. So, we have to change the landscape, and we have to have accountability, because DOCS, NYSCOBA, they're not holding their employees accountable. The way the union contract is written is that there is no accountability. Third party arbitrators decide for DOCS who gets fired. And these arbitrators are paid for by NYSCOBA themselves. It's really, really sick. It's systemic, the way this is structured, for this abuse to happen, for these murders to occur, and for no consequences to happen. So this has to stop. This has to stop. So, again, I really want to thank everyone for being on. I want to give a special thanks to both Ann and Keisha Wong. You know, both are the stream sponsors for today. Ann and Keisha, thank you so much. I also want to give a special thank you to Cheryl, who contributed, $4 in super chats. Thank you immensely. Every single dollar, every single um, dollar cent that you donate, that you give, really helps with the channel and helping me just to improve the quality of the videos, of the live streams, and to hopefully produce more flashy content, more content that will get more attention. So I want to thank everyone here for their contributions. Thank you for being on. And as I say in every single video, please like the video, share it, subscribe if you haven't already. And my goal is to go deeper than what the mainstream media is telling and sharing with you. Um, Having more long form content instead of just going through headlines. Going deeper and having full conversations and finding out what's occurring. So I want to thank everyone for being on. Please share it, like it, subscribe. Take care. God bless, and see you next time. Bye bye.